The regular meeting of the Brattleboro Housing Partnerships is called to order. And review and approve minutes from the annual meeting December 14th, 2020. Do I hear a motion?
I so move that we accept them.
Okay.
Second, Byron.
Thank you, Byron. You're the only person to second because Donna is ill and Tom wasn't coming anyway. That's why I'm starting immediately. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes from the annual meeting, please raise a hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Resident and citizen participation. The business of resident interest, if we have no other residents present, is to open the public hearing on the 2021 annual PHA plan. And we are a small public housing authority. That was the third piece in your packet.
Right.
And so may I just share something very quickly?
Please.
Okay, so the annual plan is we submit an annual plan yearly. We have a 5-year plan, which we submitted last year. For this year's annual plan, I needed to draft it prior to this meeting by 6 weeks. And so that it could be available if anybody wanted to review it. We had to put a public notice out. That being said, since this we've received notice that we've been invited to become a moving to work agency. So we will approve this annual, if you approve this annual plan, it will be sent to HUD and then we will modify it again. And so we will have to do a modification of this plan. So it's really just a placeholder to meet that HUD need. So I'm just letting you know that. So when we draft another one, you won't be surprised.
No. And I'm understanding that with our number of public housing units, is the numbers still at Melrose, the 25?
Yes.
Okay. And housing choice vouchers, 212, project-based vouchers, 203. Okay. Any comments on that from commissioners?
No.
I had a minor question about B1 on the plan.
Okay.
It refers to
most recent
deconcentration policy.
Yes.
That we have to submit. I just was curious what that is.
We don't, I'm trying to think, the deconcentration policy. That's a great question. I'm trying to think where the other, I'll have to look and let you know, Byron. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Okay, it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe you get.
There are 4 pieces that need to be submitted, and one of them is a piece that Janet needs to sign, the certification, the civil rights certification. I believe that that's only if there is a revision, and we haven't had a revision. We're not revising anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we can approve this with the understanding that we'll have a description of that later.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the 2021 annual plan as presented, please raise your hand.
Absolutely.
Opposed, no.
Aye, Byron.
Okay, thank you. It is adopted, and I want to close the hearing. I should have closed the hearing before we adopted it, but I think that's right. Staff reports and review. Property portfolio manager and property managers to review the written reports. I want to start before that just to review Christine's letter about the COVID-19 vaccine and understanding that we are encouraging staff, but they are making the choices. As I say, I'm going to get my vaccine on Monday, so that David and Christine have already done that. And you said that there are some staff members who choose not to. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, there's at this point, we cannot mandate that a staff member gets the vaccine. It's still an experimental vaccine. And so that, we can't mandate that. And so we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity and to receive the vaccine in this priority status because they work with such a compromised population, but we cannot mandate that they do so.
So portfolio manager's report. I'm sorry, Byron, had you a thought there?
No, I just had a question, which is what the response has been so far. Or do you know?
The only reason I really know is because I needed to get the information to the hospital. So staff did need to let me know, and then the hospital contacted them directly. So I would say it's about 50%.
Okay.
That's too bad. I think
they may change their mind later on.
Yeah, it's early still, and so I think there's there's just so much information out there, and so I'm hopeful as well. And so I just keep reminding and offering and giving whatever information comes across from the CDC in the state of Vermont.
Yeah.
The blue portfolio manager's report. Melrose Demolition, Red Clover Commons 2, and Ledgewood Heights. I must say, as I drove by Red Clover Commons, I was delighted to see how the new building has really bloomed.
Yes, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Very definitely.
It's big. It looks big.
Well, I think the comment that it seems to fit into that space well.
It will look nice once it's done, for sure. It will match well.
And the Melrose Demolition, you sent us photographs of that, and that's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Yes. Sad.
It is sad. Yeah. However, I will say this. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we were under a pretty substantial flood watch, and we were out there on Christmas Day watching the brook several times a day to make sure that we weren't going to have to evacuate. And so the brook was so fast and so wide and so high that it really it put it in perspective for me, and that if those buildings had still been up and we still had residents living in all of them, we would have evacuated along that floodplain on Christmas, and that would have been really hard. So,
yeah,
indeed.
And the pretty picture of what it will be looks nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the property manager's update in December. Worked through the waiting list and have reached applicants that have applied in 2020. We'll be advertising for our RAD properties to build the wait list for all unit sizes. And
I had a question about the third paragraph. We continue to contact applicants for Red Clover and have 4 units available. What's the time frame? I mean, my understanding is that only 10 people at a time can be contacted, and that it takes some time to get back to you, and then this and that. So from the time you know that there's a vacancy and you put out for the 10, I know it's just a very slow process, but how many months does it take to fill?
We try to do it within 2 months. We try to turn over the apartment and fill the apartment in under 2 months.
Okay.
However, we have been struggling a little bit with getting, some of the waitlist information from housing, from Vermont State Housing.
Okay.
It's been a little slow. They have a lot of things, they're also managing the COVID relief funds that came in. They have a few big projects. And so there has been a little bit of a delay. Plus people are not working, people are working remotely. There's lots of things, but we have a better handle on it. We thought that the wait list was much smaller. We had gotten this wait list. Someone sent us a wait list that was much smaller, and then come to find out it's much larger. I think we have over 150 people on the wait list.
Ooh, wow.
And is that the Vermont State wait list or our wait list?
Specifically for Red Clover Commons.
Oh my gosh.
For Red Clover Commons. which is not surprising. It's an attractive building.
But the good news with a project-based voucher for vacancies is with part of that contract is that Vermont State Housing is obligated to pay us up to 2 months worth of full rent on a vacant unit, known as the vacancy payments. Anything after 60 days, then the landlord takes the loss. So ideally, yeah, it would be great to have a turnover between 30 and 45 days, so there's really not a loss of income on that unit.
Yeah. Interesting information. Thank you.
So we have an incentive to try to fill it. However, sometimes it's just hard to get that information, and so but they prioritize that for sure.
So the only place you can get referrals is from the Vermont wait list. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
And just to make a note, so that will be different for Red Clover Commons too.
Oh, okay.
So David, would you like to speak to that?
Oh, love to. So I am going to own the wait list for Red Clover Commons 2 that is going to be part of the project-based voucher program. So those that make application will be with us specific to Red Clover Commons 2, that we would manage that wait list as Vermont State Housing manages the Red Clover 1 wait lists. So we're a smaller grain of rice, but we're a little bit more in control, I think, because of just of how efficient I think we are. And I don't anticipate us going beyond 60 days vacancies for any units in that property.
Wonderful. Because I know in past times we've been looking to shorten the rental up, both the refurbishing and then rental up time for the units.
Right. And that holds true with all project-based voucher units. So even with our RAD properties, when we have turnovers and we do not or aren't able to fill those vacancies within those 60 days, again, Section 8 pays the owner a vacancy payment of the full contract rent.
Okay.
Good to know.
That is a help. All right. I didn't check on the payment. Have we seen the rental assistance payments raising our percentages of paid rent?
So if you look at the second sheet that Courtney included in the packet, she really gave a breakdown that I think was very helpful. So I'm telling you this because the numbers that you see do not reflect these numbers. Because she had to print this prior to when many of our rent collection went in for this month, and we had to mail them out. So the rent collection is really off this month because our meeting was so early, and I mailed these, I think I had to have them by last Friday. So it just, a lot of the rents didn't get in by that time. So the percentages will be much higher. But if you look at what Courtney put in, so since the program started, we received $46,761 from the rental relief funds. We had 39 households apply, and 12 applied more than once. And then we had 3 new residents apply for the Money to Move program. And for that, we received $2,860. So for a total of those 2 programs, we received $49,621.
Wow.
And what does that do for the deficit in the
So really it just helps people to get back on track with their rent. So if they weren't paying rent, they could apply for this program, or if they were behind rent, or they could apply for this program.
Asking larger question of that, what the expected income would be versus the income that actually came in.
I would say that if we were able to if all of this funds was in when we put this out, when we gave you this note, we would probably see a big increase. I think that we've probably had better rent collection than we've ever had because people can apply to have their rent reimbursed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when people aren't paying their rent, we get in touch with them right away and send them the form and say, apply for this funds because we need you to pay up your rent.
Right. Very good. So the family self-sufficiency and SASH and wellness services. Yellow.
Yep.
It's a very positive report.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm delighted to see that there is a new person in SASH.
Yes, I'm excited too. He's wonderful. His name is Jake Bursky, and he has a lot of experience. He worked at Groundworks for some time, and he's just been a breath of fresh air. He's been a lot of fun having on board.
Great.
A lot of great ideas.
And the fact that he attended Brattleboro High School, graduating in 2012, means that he knows this area.
He does, yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And the SASH Flash, as always, is both attractive and very useful. And Housing Choice Voucher Administrator, who I believe is here with us.
I am indeed. I want to chat with you all about what's called the Mainstream Voucher in a moment. I'll give you Mainstream Voucher 101 crash course and what that's all about.
Okay.
But I think the good news for us in starting off this new year is that we're going to be opening up the Section 8 wait list on February 16th.
Wonderful.
Which brings us to the point of it being closed for only 6.5 years.
Wow.
So that's the good news. We have a public notice that is going to be released to the press starting next Saturday, as well as all our service providers will be duly informed next Friday as to the application process. So exciting, a little bit of work, but that's why we do what we do. Backing up a bit on what's called the Mainstream Voucher. The Mainstream Voucher that we made application for a couple of months was approved by HUD, and they have approved us for what they say are 40 Mainstream vouchers. Those vouchers are to be rolled into the Housing Choice Voucher family. So in short, I'm going to read you my overview, and Christine's going to send this to you as well. But the Mainstream Voucher is an arm of the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, and it's our intent to launch this effective April 1st, 2021. It operates very closely to the Housing Choice Voucher in that all Housing Choice Voucher regulations are in use with the Mainstream Voucher, and the only difference in essence is how one qualifies, in that they must be issued to anyone under 62 years of age who is or has a household member who is disabled. They are not required to receive supportive services. So supportive services are strongly suggested by HUD, but it's not required. Applications for the Mainstream Voucher is made through our basic Section 8 wait list. So the timing of this is good. So we're going to be opening up the list anyway, so we can double dip and have those make application for the regular Housing Choice Voucher, as well as for any of those that would qualify for the Mainstream Voucher. Mainstream Voucher must be used before any other applicant is on our Section 8 wait list. So those who are non-elderly, 62 or younger, and disabled will be given a preference, a built-in preference. It's not a preference that we so choose, but that's the mandate that they must, we must issue those vouchers first before housing choice vouchers. Momentarily, I'm going to share with you all that there are 5 preferences, so a subset of a subset that HUD makes available to us. And out of those 5 preferences, there is one that I think we should take advantage of. Again, just getting back into the operations of the mainstream voucher, Section 8 payment standards and utility allowances are used. The participant pays no more than 40% of their adjusted monthly income, and they choose where they want to live. It also holds the same flexibility as the housing choice voucher known as portability. So if one receives that voucher and they want to move to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, please let me know and I'll make contact with Oshkosh and we'll seal the deal and send you on your way. The funding for the mainstream voucher is based on 40 vouchers to the qualified population, which equals a maximum monthly subsidy payment for each voucher to be $500. Mm-hmm. Our average subsidy payment is above $500 in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, what they call a PUC, per unit cost. Mm-hmm. So I project, looking in my crystal ball, that we would probably max out the mainstream budget at about 20 to 25 mm-hmm. of those mainstream vouchers, not 40. And I can't overextend ourselves and issue 40 vouchers and go to HUD and say, give us more money. No, we can only, as we are limited as well in our housing choice voucher budget. Let me share with you what else. We'll also be receiving admin funding from HUD, which will be equal to that of the regular housing choice voucher. So there are admin dollars that will be coming to us in the administration of those. The mainstream voucher is, as I was telling you, is an arm of the housing choice voucher, which project-based vouchers are an arm of the Section 8 program as well. So a subset of a subset of a subset now, in that with the mainstream voucher, should we so desire, we could project-base some of those vouchers in a long-term contract with a private landlord in the community. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's close to my question is, what can our communities support these mainstream vouchers with available apartments?
Realistically, not right now. The hard part's going to be that they will be issued, they will be in people's possessions. Will they be able to lease up with a landlord in a reasonable amount of time, with normally our vacancy rate being at 1%? And Janet, I've had 4 people since last April that are still looking for 1-bedroom apartments. In addition to the perfect storm of the pandemic, the vacancy rate, we have probably another half a dozen Melrose folks that are going to be getting vouchers, that are going to be out looking. Okay. I have 10 of our...
Or housing choice vouchers.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The Melrose vouchers, are they project?
The Melrose 5 to 6 folks that are not going to Red Clover 2 will be receiving the housing choice voucher. I understand that there's 1, possibly 2, that would like to take them out of the area. I wish they would all take them out of the area because they would have a better chance of finding out. Maybe they'd have a better chance of finding housing. So in my crystal ball and projecting, I would anticipate probably come April 1st, I will have, the Brattleboro Housing Partnerships will have probably close to 35 housing choice vouchers out on the street in Brattleboro alone.
Wow.
And the bricks and mortar's not there. So, I mean, I'm not going to also set a clock on this voucher and say, you have 60 days to find a place, or I'm going to take it back and give it to the next person. That's not fair. That's not their fault. I will give them as much time as they reasonably need to find housing in the community once a voucher is issued. That's why for those handful that have been out looking for the last 10 months, I haven't expired their voucher. It's just not the right thing, not ethical.
If you had a question.
If somebody is already in an apartment and it's a financial stress, can they qualify for this and then get help with that?
Here's one for you. If they meet the qualifications of being non-elderly and have a disabled household member, even if they are housed and they qualify, they can use it where they're currently living to help them with the rent that they're paying now, if the landlord would like to play. So that then brings me to the preferences of the mainstream vouchers. Y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There are 5 that HUD has made available. I will share with you what they all are, and I will share with you the one I would advocate the strongest for. So the first preference would be for those that are transitioning out of institutions. The second would be at risk of institutionalization. The third preference could be currently experiencing homelessness. The fourth is at risk of homelessness. And the fifth is formerly homeless and currently in a permanent supported housing, rapid rehousing project. What that means in Brattleboro Housing Partnership speak is that in our community, the permanent supported housing, rapid rehousing projects are shelter plus care, transitions to housing. The state of Vermont has issued what are called CARES vouchers. They're a 1-year transitional subsidy provided by the Office of Economic Opportunity from the CARES Act. Those are a rapid rehousing funded subsidy, so that population would qualify. Youth Services operates a program called Transitional Housing that uses rapid rehousing dollars. So this would also cover or make eligible more youth as well. And those that are working with the Winston Prouty Center in their family supported housing program, because again, that is a part of our transitions to housing program. But if they're not in transitions and they're still working with family supported housing, it could qualify. So my pitch, out of those 5, my wind up and pitch, stand back, is I would like to ask for your blessing for one of those preferences, and it's the last one. Formerly homeless and currently in permanent supported housing, rapid rehousing project. And the reason why I throw the pitch on that one is that we have participants in Shelter Plus Care that have been in the program for over 10 years that don't need Shelter Plus Care anymore. They could be on the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher list, but they haven't come to the top. They really don't need the supportive services. They can remain housed where they are and have a permanent rental subsidy in the mainstream voucher. Our transitions to housing, homeless families with a disabled child too would qualify. As we are all sensitive to homelessness in our area, I'm projecting out of our roster of approximately 30 Shelter Plus Care participants currently, close to 10 would qualify for this mainstream voucher. The result of that is if we are able to issue 10 mainstream vouchers to our Shelter Plus Care population, that then opens up another 10 beds and case management slots for 10 qualified homeless people to come into the Shelter Plus Care program. So there's a positive trickle down if we choose that option versus specific to the currently experiencing homelessness population. We can put a cap on the number of mainstream vouchers we could issue with that preference. And I would suggest, again, we know we're going to be getting 40 mainstream vouchers, I don't think it would be unreasonable to set a cap of 25% of those mainstream vouchers specific to those formerly homeless and currently in permanent supported housing, rapid rehousing projects. So that would make a lot of folks eligible and provide opportunities for other homeless, disabled, or homeless families to fill their slots as well.
Liz, Byron, have you comments, questions?
No, I can certainly understand the trickle-down effect of that, and I understand that, yeah.
But on the positive side, or the immediate positive side, the immediate gratification side is if we do authorize the preference of formerly homeless and currently in permanent supported housing, we know that those shelter plus care folks are already housed. They're already at a fair market rent. They would meet all the bells and whistles. It would just be administrative, reworking a lease with the landlord and a payment contract, and the person doesn't have to move. They now have a Section 8 voucher, mainstream voucher, instead of being in shelter plus care. And again, that will open up the door for new homeless, disabled folks to come into the shelter plus care program.
That's a good point.
What is the maximum rent? I know that the shelter plus care is able to utilize an apartment that has a higher rent than the Section 8 or mainstream voucher.
Correct. The fair market rent for a one bedroom is $866. I would say that in a shelter plus care situation, it's probably not any more than $900. So a participant may end up paying that difference of the $30 more a month should they choose to do this. If they say, no, I can't afford to do that, then I start knocking on the door and buying the landlord lunch and washing his car and carrying his golf bag for him to lower the rent the first year to get this up and running. And if they then want to request a reasonable rent increase, operative word reasonable, then we can talk in another year. So we have our ways.
Okay. Byron, any thoughts?
I have there are parts of this that I'm not entirely clear about, but I have total confidence in the reporter's recommendation.
Me too.
Great.
Thank you, Byron.
I move that we give you the blessing.
Yes, right. Indeed.
And I will say, David and I talked about this at length. First of all, we talked about at length of even getting these vouchers and applying. And David he's given this a lot of thought and really talked me through it as well to help me to understand. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate him being here. But I totally agree with him at this point. And, it is definitely something that we've struggled with. And I think that our partners have been really frustrated that we have some people in these programs that they're needing to case manage that really don't need case management anymore. Yes. And it's just, so I think that it would really help not only to open up those spaces, but I think it would help our relationship with some of our community partners to work with us and to fill those slots. I think they would be happy that's the case. And again, it will provide an opportunity for people who need that support to have a voucher tied to that support.
It helps that we know the people in shelter plus care. And so this is a transition, and we will be opening up shelter plus care and getting to know those potential residents who do need a lot more in the way of case management, because I used to work with it. So
just a couple of things again is that should you choose to approve the preference to mainstream vouchers, being the formerly homeless and currently in permanent supported housing, rapid rehousing projects, I would also have a subset as well that we would cap that offering at 25% of our full mainstream vouchers. The other dynamic in this, as I mentioned earlier, was the project-based voucher. So we'll find out probably come April, May at the latest if we're going to be able to issue our budget limit of mainstream vouchers. Mm-hmm. If we are not, in back of my mind, I'm thinking of a conversation with Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and the Chalet Project that they have just opened up on South Street to provide supportive services in some of those, I think in all of those units, with project-based vouchers from Vermont State Housing Authority. I don't know what their development plans look like in that particular property. But again, if there are remaining mainstream vouchers, perhaps we could utilize some, a limited amount in a project-based setting with Wyndham Windsor Housing in the Chalet project. But that's, that's in the back seat waiting to be heard down the road.
Okay. We do not have that as an item that needs to be voted on. I believe, would it be helpful if we were to express the wish, or the will of the board to support you?
I think as a formality, it wouldn't be a bad idea, just to assure that, we've crossed any T's and dotted any I's, seeing that this process is also new to me as well. So I'm still in a learning curve. Right. And if I don't have the answer, I'll find it.
Do I hear a motion to support the applying for mainstream vouchers and 25% of that to go for the preference?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And our community thanks you as well. They don't know this yet, but they will.
All right. What I was hoping you would do is find a reporter from either the Commons or the Reformer or both who would be interested in doing a profile on this.
Oh, yeah.
Because we want to educate the community on the variety of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Right? And maybe we can couple that with our release of the newly named Moving to Work program as well, and having that as part of the information we're sharing with the public at large.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Could all be coupled.
Sounds wonderful. Let me just quickly head back to my agenda. So, financial review, the monthly check listing, which came in as a separate green piece.
I'm going to step out, ladies and gent.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Have a good weekend.
You all too. Be well.
Thank you. We're doing our best. So actually, the monthly test check listing is the green. Then the AWR Richards and Red Clover Commons budget. And then check signing assignments. Okay. Anything that we need to notice on this, Christine?
On the budget, I don't.
Well, both check signing first and then the budget.
For check signing, I think we're all set until March, unless anybody wanted to volunteer. I mean, I think we're all set until March, so I think we can wait until next month to assign April, May, and June.
Okay.
Yep, that's good.
In terms of the budget,
AWR Richards and Red Clover Commons.
I don't think that there's outside. So the last month that we met, we went over the end of the quarter. This is just projecting out. I don't think that there's nothing really major. We will have some changes to the budget. We're trying to put Wi-Fi in all of Red Clover Commons because we understand that telehealth has become a much bigger need, and we're securing iPads through SASH, and so that will change. However, we've been negotiating with Comcast, and actually, I don't know how this is possible, but somehow it might be even less expensive. And
Wow.
so that is the only change I really have, because right now our Comcast and our Wi-Fi bill is pretty high. It's about $750 a month. And so in doing these negotiations, it will actually be going down.
That's
Good.
Wonderful.
I mean, the only other piece that's really challenging is our A.W. Richards building. We are unable, because that building is struggling so much, to put money in reserves. Housing Vermont is aware of this, and so we're working on some negotiations of how to realign our contract once some of our contract constraints are expired.
Okay. Well, I know that the heating and cooling of that building was a real concern.
It is,
some time ago, and it still is. Okay.
I didn't have any questions on it.
I had one question about both reports, and I'm just interested in the property tax figures. Is this an in lieu of amount?
This is not in our pilot, which is different from, so because both of these buildings are not part of the, it's not part of the, Brattleboro Housing Authority. These are separate. These are tax credit properties that the taxes are definitely, it's a higher tax rate.
So this is full town of Brattleboro taxes?
Yes, they are. Yep.
Okay.
Are we ready to move on? Do you have an answer? Was that the answer, or there another question for that, Myron?
No, that was it. I was just surprised that there are any of the housing authority projects that pay full taxes.
It is. It's because they're different. These projects are different from the projects that are under our RAD, which we do have a pilot, which we pay in lieu of taxes. It's a different rate because it's part of the municipality. These are separate. They are higher. It's very expensive. I agree.
Is that negotiable at all, Christine?
I'm not sure. I mean, I can certainly ask. I'm guessing not. Because I'm guessing that when they drafted all of these up and when they came up with these agreements, I'm guessing that we ended up, there were reasons why these were put in place, and I'm not sure, but it's a great question to ask. And I think as we're building RCC II, it will be helpful for me to understand. So I will certainly ask how, if at all, we can negotiate, or if after what time period we can negotiate.
Great, wonderful. Okay, the large projects in progress. The FEMA and the difference, the photographs, the before and after.
Yeah, amazing.
And Byron, before you came on, Christine talked about at Christmas time being up there and watching the brook really, really rush through. Had those buildings been there, they would have been flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say it was sad seeing the buildings torn down, especially knowing all the residents that have lived there. And I knew many of them myself. And so it was definitely sad, but I think it was it was a healthy reminder on Christmas because, I forget sometimes, and it was good. Chris Hart and I were both talking about it, and she said, in some ways it's good for you to see that because you'll come up against this question a lot of how can you tear these down? How can you do this? When we need housing. And I struggle with that myself sometimes. Oh, is it really that big of a deal? Is it that bad? And then you see this and you realize how scary it really could be. And it happens so quickly.
Yes. And then the Melrose Terrace floodplain restoration project is very exciting.
It is really exciting, and it really shows. And I think that, so if you look at the buildings that are left, these buildings will be in the 500-year floodplain, which really will allow us to do more with them. And the landscape really will look so different once it's done. I mean, the brook will be widened. There will be this area so that if it does flood, it will grab all that water and it will allow for it to all this space. And so it is really exciting.
So the buildings that remain, what can we do with them?
Well, we're just starting to really think, we've been thinking about this forever, but we're really starting to think of the next phase. But there definitely are some crucial pieces that need to get done before we can really decide whether it can stay as housing or something else. Mm-hmm. And so we really do need to widen this brook, and we really do need to do all of these other projects, working with FEMA to really get to that point. And it may not be all of them. It may be just certain buildings that we feel would be okay. And so I just think at this point, we're just not at that point to even speculate.
Thoughts from commissioners?
No, I hope you're going to be able to keep your corporate offices there.
We are. We are planning on keeping them here at this point.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the rest of those remaining buildings, there is no plan for at this point.
I mean, we're discussing it, but we don't have a plan until we really get through these next pieces of work, and then we can really start having the conversation of whether it would be what type of funding we could apply for, what it would look like, what we would be able to use it for. And but until we get some of this work done, especially through FEMA, we're about a year out before we can really have those conversations.
Is it a possibility that they would be available for other community use?
Yes, and that had been another discussion, whether it was Artist Loft or it has now been this area is now part of the village, the West Brattleboro Village. And so we might be able to use some of it for commercial. Mm-hmm. And so just sort of thinking about what that could look like, whether it was nonprofit offices or something else to that capacity. Uh-huh. So we are planning on staying here for at least the time being. And I hesitate to say anything about housing because I don't want to get anyone's hopes up that we would continue to rehouse, and I also don't want to upset people who are being relocated because it really is it would be a few years out for sure, and it would look very different than what it looks like now.
My understanding some time ago had been that we could not use any governmental money on anything that was in danger of flooding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true.
So that limits nonprofit use. Mm-hmm. Unless they come up with their own funds. Mm-hmm. Okay. The check signing, Tom is doing January, and Liz, you're doing February, and I'm doing
February.
Okay. I think we're at the point of needing a move to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you're seconding, Byron?
Yes.
And I am going to say, all those in favor, please say aye and put your hand up.
Great.
And opposed, no. I used to like to say, all those in favor, please say goodbye.
Wonderful.
Thank you for all commissioners for being here. We miss Tom, and we hope Donna gets a lot stronger and better.
Pray Donna gets stronger soon. God bless her.
Indeed.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for a very good meeting, and I'm grateful that we had our quorum so that we don't need to chase everybody out.
Right, exactly.
But, yeah. And may we all come through healthy and no COVID in any of our properties.
Exactly, yeah, good.
Good night.
God bless.
Good night. Thank you all very much.
You bet.